So the CrossFit Games were this weekend. They had athletes who competed around the world in different regions. They took the top 40 qualifying men and women from these different areas, and they bring them to Madison, Wisconsin over the weekend for 4 days of grueling workouts to test them to see who's going to be the fittest. So I was looking forward to this. They also have age groups, adaptive athletes, teams, but I'm focusing this recap on just the elite individuals. So day one started with 3 events. The first one was biking. I'm not a huge fan when they do biking on CrossFit, and I'm sure there are a lot of professional cyclists out there just rolling their eyes, listening to the commentary and watching what's happening. But I do like the variety, and I like seeing them do a lot of different types of things, so I'm not going to complain. This was pretty cool, though, to see Emma Lawson had a commanding win, as well as did Yona Koski. Jumped out to a good start. He's done that several times in the years in the past. So that was the first event. Several hours later, on event number 2, they had the pig flip chipper. This one saw Roman Krennikov, who was a big favorite there, did great. He ended up winning this one. And on the women's side, Laura Horvath. I love this clip here when the women were trying to finish up the last half of the race. They were just all gassed, and Laura just got up there and went beast mode, flipping that pig over and over, ended up taking that, won it very easily. Later in the day was the inverted medley, essentially a gymnastics workout where you're walking on your hands and doing bar muscle ups. And this one, Danielle Brandon was obviously the favorite. She's shown in the past how good she is at this, and she didn't disappoint. She just took off from the start and dominated this, so that was fun to watch. On the men's side, it wasn't so much a matter of who's going to win, but people were glued to Justin Medeiros, the 2-time returning champion, who had had 2 horrible events to start off, and he was in a big pit trying to dig himself out. It was nice to see him put in some effort and do well, and try and do some damage control on that. Okay, then the next day on day 2, the event 4 was the alpaca. So this event was pushing a sled full of kettlebells, doing various amounts of kettlebell presses along the way, and then doing a legless rope climb, and then coming back and doing the same thing again. This one was really tough. Roman Krennikov again started off great and built a commanding lead in the games by winning this one again, and Emma Tall on the women's side took it. Now, because I was watching this stream on YouTube, I did have the comment section available open, and so I'd see a lot of comments coming in from all over on that. It's interesting, but I'd say probably 25% of them were insightful or helpful or entertaining, but the vast majority of them were just either clueless questions or trolls. So many people, I wish I would have had a nickel for every time someone said, "Where's Tia?" or Mal or Haley or Spiegel and things like that. But I pretty quickly learned to minimize the comments there. It's just kind of a distraction. Several hours after that, they had event number 5, the ski erg sandbag event. In this one, Colton Mertens ended up taking it, as did Laura Horvath again. No surprise, she's showing her dominance and strength in that one. Test number 6, the final event of day 2, was Helena. This is basically some sprinting and muscle ups, so a difficult workout. The thing I was most impressed about this with Jeff Adler, he's a big, strong guy. I've always seen him as a weightlifter in the past, but to see him improve his running so much, he ended up taking second on that, made a cut into Roman's lead. And it was just cool to see someone that's so strong to be able to be so fast also. So I was impressed with that. So during this time, one of the first things I was looking forward to was the first round of cuts, where they'll take the bottom 10 men and women, the lowest scores, and remove them from the competition. And that's kind of nice, because when there's 3 and 4 heats and you have to watch those each time for men and women, it's more exciting just to see the people that are really in contention. Day number 3 started off with event 7, which was a 5K race. I really love this. I wouldn't consider it a CrossFit test by any means, but it's just basically running. No bells or whistles with it, just a 5K. Men and women started together. This was cool to see how well they did. Emily Rolfe was dominant with the women, and Hosta from Belgium ended up winning this from the men's side, and Adler got second. Unlike the cycling, I really was entertained and impressed with the running aspect of this. These CrossFit athletes, they are muscular, they're heavy for their size, they're pulling a lot of weight with them, and so when they're running, I was surprised to see him doing it so fast. I think it was like an 18-minute 5K is what ended up being the winning time. But it's pretty impressive when you look at them, and especially a lot of the women passing the men I thought was pretty cool too. After that, we move on to event number 8, and this was intervals. This consisted of box jumps, rowing, and then burpee box jump overs. And I really like this event. Emma Lawson won, was able to stay in the leader position with this win. On the men's side, it was cool to see Patrick Vellner win. There was also a little bit of drama on this, how Roman Krennikov kind of made some mistakes and didn't place too well on this, and some of the other athletes were getting closer to be able to challenge him. One thing I enjoy about watching this event over several days is to watch the leaderboards, to see those changes, to see the cuts, anticipating what sort of activities or events they're going to be participating in, to see your favorite athletes, what their weaknesses and strengths are, and anticipating how they're going to fare in those. So it's kind of a chess match there. When you look at the big picture, it's a lot more exciting than just watching people exercise. By the way, I only think it's fair that I disclose what athletes I've been rooting for during this. First of all, I respect them all. I think they're all amazing. But the 4 on the men's side, I like Medeiros, which made it kind of hard watching this year. BKG, Vellner, and Adler were my top 4 guys there. On the women's side, the top 4 I'm rooting for are Brandon, Lowen, Magala, and Lawson. Okay, and the final event of day 3 was Olympic total. This is basically Olympic lifting. You've got the snatch and the clean and jerk. Each competitor had 2 lifts to do is all. And they just took the cumulative score of how many pounds they were able to lift. So this was kind of fun to watch. Jack Farlow set a new games record with the amount that he lifted on his combined total. And Adler made some more progress, creeping a little bit closer to Krennikov, so that made it more exciting. On the women's side, no surprise there. As everyone expected, Laura Horvath cleaned up and took first place on that one. Okay, let's get this over with. Day 4, event 10, was muscle up logs. This one they had ring muscle ups, and then they'd have to carry sandbags and throw them over different height walls, logs, climb over those back and forth across the stadium. Looked like a difficult task. And that one, Adler won, as did Horvath. Okay, one thing that almost ripped my heart out today was when I saw after event 10 that Roman had broken his foot at the very end of that competition. And it's not fair to see him not at his peak health trying to compete. I guess injury is part of the thing, but it's not fair to him or to the people competing against him to not have him at their best. But he's fighting through it anyway, so that's pretty admirable. For event 11, it was parallel barbells. They did some movement on the parallel bars, then double unders, and then some overhead press with the barbell. That was Fikowski won, and then Horvath also on that for her second win of the day. All right, and for event 12, the final event was eco thrusters. That's time on the eco bike, going back and forth between thrusters and bike several times before finishing with standing barbell and then doing lunges across to the finish line. This was a tough one on the legs, obviously. The final event, everyone's dead afterwards, but it doesn't really matter the placing of that because Jeff Adler ended up winning overall, as did Laura Horvath. No surprise with a strong finish on Sunday. So the athletes that podiumed for the women were Horvath, Lawson, and Lowen. And on the men's side, it was Adler, Vellner, and Krennikov. Fortunately, he very close for Fikowski, almost taken over, but he was able to hold on to it despite the bad injury. I've been spending way too much time this week on watching the games and analysis and commentary and making this video. I just did a quick dry run watching this video, and I saw that there's tons of glitches with the editing. Sorry, but I'm not going to redo it because I'm tired. I'm going to bed soon, but I really enjoyed these CrossFit games. The one thing that sticks with me is I don't know how these athletes can recover. I mean, it's just so brutal, the load they put on them for this 4 days in a row. I wish them all some good rest and some time off to recover, and looking forward to next year's games.